All right, folks, I kind of messed up a little bit when I created this rally test booklet or training booklet. I started right in the middle of Columbia Center Boulevard, so the first instruction says to go straight, and it says starting on Canal after coming out of Columbia Center Boulevard, head east. In other words, you're going to head down Canal. And the first thing you're looking for, the first intersection, it says maybe he was rocking the free world, but you're not. So that's at 4/10 of a mile. It's an intersection that you're just passing through, and Neil Young was, well, rocking the real world. So we're not going to go on Neil Young or North Young or whatever it is. We're going to continue and we're going to cross another road. So you start from the bottom of the arrow and you read to the top where the arrow points to. And so you have an intersection or a road going off to the right, and it says crossing the wind. Well, that means you're going to continue past whatever that road is, which happens to be Crosswind, I think, Boulevard. And that's at 0.7 miles. You can ignore the hundreds because you don't have a rally computer. Next, we're going to continue on. We'll be at just a tick over a mile. We're going to pass another road, and that one says Jarhead made coffee in Seattle. Yuck. So the keys here, Jarhead, there must be a Subway, and coffee in Seattle, probably a Starbucks, and the yuck, of course, I don't like Starbucks coffee, so there you go. Must be a Subway you're looking for, and you're just passing by. Again, you're following the arrow here, which is going from the bottom to the top. So you're going to pass by a Subway and a Starbucks. Then you have a right. So at 1.2 miles, you're going to have a right, and it says a clown drove a toy to have cereal. Well, that's Kellogg's cereal. There's a Toyota dealership, and of course, we've got a McDonald's. So that's number one, folks. Page one. So we were on Kellogg, and the first clue at 1.4, almost 1.5 miles is Rio Speedwagon was grand. So the key there is Rio and Grand, and we're going to make a right turn. You can see that in the arrow. We call those tulips. So the arrow goes to the right. And then we're going to travel down Rio Grande almost 0.3 of a mile. So just over a quarter mile. So that's from 1.47 miles to 1.74. And it actually tells you just below the 1.74 that it's 0.27 miles from the last turn. So just over a quarter mile. We're going to go right. So the tulip shows we're going to go right. And the clue says, see ya, Rio. In other words, we're no longer going to be on Rio Grande. So we're going to make that right-hand turn. And from there, we're looking for a circle. Now, we made the right-hand turn. I didn't tell you what the road name was. So this is something that you're going to run into where you're not going to know what the road name is. So you really got to pay attention to the clues. Sia Rio means you're turning off of Rio Grande. You're making a right-hand turn. It's just over a quarter mile from the last turn. So that puts you on Okanagan. And the next clue confirms that because at 2.12 miles, which is just almost 0.4 of a mile from your last turn, you're going to hit a circle, traffic circle, and it says no crosswind in the Okanagan. So you're on the Okanagan, and that's your clue, and no crosswind means I'm not going to turn off of Okanagan onto crosswind at the traffic circle. I'm going to continue until 2.4 miles or almost 0.3 of a mile from my last turn. And here's a big one, folks, because you see a big truck, what looks like a government building, a parking lot, and I see dead people. Of course, that's the clue. The morgue is that government building. There's a parking lot there, and the trucks are, well, the buses. So you make that right-hand turn, which is kind of putting you almost in the parking lot. And then the next clue is key here because it says, is this even a road? And it has parking lots on both sides. So it's just you're obviously not on a main road of town. You're on kind of a back road between parking lots heading out of somewhere, right? Pretty simple. Okay, if you drove all the way through that parking lot, you would end up here, which is back on Rio Grande. And let's see, it says we're not harvesting any moons, so let's head right down the river. So, not harvesting any moons, that's a reference to North Young Street, whatever it is. So, we're not going that way. And since we come from the bottom of the tulip and we're turning right, then head right down the river. The road is, of course, again, the Rio Grande. So, that's the river. And the final instruction is you're coming to a Y intersection of some kind, and you will go to the right, not the left, and that's the stop, that's the finish, that's the end of it all. So there you go, folks. It's pretty easy to navigate these. I mean, the trick, of course, is to kind of get the clues and figure out what am I talking about on harvesting moons and crosswinding and the river and Rio Grande and all that kind of stuff. But that's the fun. That's what makes this kind of fun. So let me know what you think. Hopefully that helped you out, and we'll do more of these. All right, folks. Talk to you later.